just doing it. It's like, did you slow down? Did you slow down the beat because it was the same music, but it was like it had a little different groove to it, you know?
Is that the same music? That
It
is
is
the same
music.
music. Yeah, it's got a nice little groove. Had me tapping and texting my kids.
Dun, 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 dun. It had me moving my neck. Okay. Okay. So hello, everybody. Hi, Terry. Hi, Linus. And hello, people who are watching. Which come on in, people, wherever you are.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Watch it later.
Or you can watch it later.
Hashtag replay, yes.
But if you're not doing anything right now, come on in. Welcome to the Golden Woman Show. And we are, guess what? The Golden Women. Well, from left to right, I'm directionally dyslexic. So I'm just going to, over there in the green, there we go. In the green is Ms. Terry Holly. You want to introduce yourself, Terry, and tell people a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
I'm Terry Holly. Do I have my name right? Yes, I do. Yeah. I think the first show, it just said Terry. Terry Holly, so glad to be here. Love doing this show with my lady friends. Let's see, you can find me at revolutiongray.com. That's where I sort of have my platform. You can also find me on TikTok as Miss Terry Holly. And I am flipping the script after 50.
All right.
And next in the center, at least on my screen, with that beautiful mane of silver hair, is Miss Linus Woods Mullins.
Hey, everybody. Happy Hump Day Wednesday. I love Wednesdays because I get a chance to hang out with you guys. It's also the time of the week where I kind of like re-energize myself. So I have plenty of energy for tonight. Normally, in about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, I'd be winding down, getting ready to go to bed because I get up so early in the morning. But
you do.
I got up. I do. I get up at 4:30 a.m. at the latest, more like 3:34 a.m. every morning.
Yeah, I'm getting these texts from you at like 4:30 in the morning. I'm like,
right?
First I thought you couldn't sleep one night. And then I got another one. I was like, wow.
That's my life. That is part of my lifestyle. I'm a holistic living and wellness expert for women over 40, and you can check me out on my website, vibewellnesswoman.com. Also, just go ahead and follow me on Instagram and click on my link tree, and you can find out all the stuff that's going on with me. But right now, my focus is the topics that we have to talk about. Marianne.
Yes. Okay, I am Marianne Alda, and these ladies are my lovely friends. We met on Clubhouse during the pandemic, and we just kind of, birds of a feather, that kind of thing happened. And I am an age disruptor. I'm an actress turned pro-age activist simply because the casting director stopped calling me because I got old. Ooh. And now I'm even older because I'm 75. And I believe in saying your age, just stating out loud because that's my thing. You can find me on Instagram at Marianne Alda Aging Shamelessly. And what Terry and Linus were talking about, Terry's on the East Coast, I'm in the Midwest, and Linus is on the West Coast. So when Terry's up at a reasonable hour, 6, 7, Linus is up at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning sending out these texts because I get them too, because I get up pretty early, but I get like 6 o'clock and going, damn, Linus, because it's 4 o'clock in the West Coast. But she's there. Usually, Linus, you are my first text of the day.
Oh, really? That's so
special. Yes, indeed.
Oh, my God. Well, my bestie would say nothing has changed because when she got married her second time around, and we're always so used to talking to each other early in the morning, but her husband was like, look, would you please tell Linus not to be texting at me or to you early in the morning because that was their special time. Well, needless to say, they're no longer together. But anyway, I was interruptus. I was coitus interruptus.
Did you have something to do with that, Linus?
Probably so.
Those early morning phone calls.
I said, what? I can't call early in the morning? He got to go. No.
And we're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about, because there was an article that I read this week that you all read too. It was about the fact that women friendships are as meaningful or more meaningful to women than their spouses. And I think that has to do with the mental health and the way we relate to one another emotionally and all that kind of shit. Speaking of relating emotionally, Linus, how are you doing since Michael had his accident? How are you doing with the character?
That's right. She didn't get the memo. I'm doing fine. He's doing great.
Okay.
But there was something else that I wanted to talk about that
Okay.
was kind of like what happened to me. I woke up this morning and realized that something is major going to change for me tomorrow and again next time this year. I am going to, my oldest child, I'm going to have a child this time next year who is 40 years old. That just blows my mind. I mean, that just blows my mind. I've never thought about never thought about it at all, about the fact that I would have a child that was like old enough to receive my services as a wellness coach. I mean, because you think of them for so long as their 20s, teens, whatever, but she'll be 39 tomorrow and she will be 40 next year. And that was just kind of like, wow. Just like it was when my dad, when I turned 60, my dad was like, wow, my baby girl is 60 years old. I mean, we became peers. He was 80 something and I was 60 something. I mean, we were peers at that point. But it's just amazing to me that I would have a daughter who is 40. I thought it would make me feel old. But instead, it makes me feel really blessed, first of all, that I lived to see her, live that long.
Absolutely.
But also it makes me realize that I'm still pretty healthy. I have a lot of energy. I'm still doing a lot. So I'm looking forward to watching her turn 60. Why the heck not?
Well, Linus,
it's amazing.
January the 14th, my son turns 50.
Wow. So what did it feel like when he turned 40?
Nothing.
Well, okay, well, what about the 50? That's like half a century.
I think it's affecting him more than it's affecting me. I thought because I turned 75, which is my Diamond Jubilee year, 75th anniversary, Diamond Jubilee year. So I'm thinking I'm going to celebrate all year. So I said, I will still be 70 because my birthday's in May. I said, I will still be 75 when you turn 50. We should do something exciting, because 50, 75. I said, maybe we should jump out of a plane. He said, no. No, I'm trying
not doing that.
Not doing that. And my son has been gray. He started going gray in his 30s. And he's a big guy. And even when he was in college, people sometimes would get us confused. Like I said, I was going to get a t-shirt that says, "No, I'm not robbing the cradle. He's my son." And it's still, people kind of look and they go, because he's, the big kind of old guy. Now he'll never watch this. He won't hear me say this. But I do believe it's affecting him more because I think middle age, those middle years when you're trying to figure out, I think middle age is like similar to adolescence. Because when you're adolescent, you're not a kid anymore, but you're not an adult. And in those 40s, 50s, you're not young anymore, but you're not old. Yeah, you haven't received that status. So I call those that's the awkward age, the awkward stage. So that's
funny about the old thing, because I was watching a television program and the guy was forced to retire at 63. And I was like, dang it. And I'm 66. That means I'd be out of a job if I worked at that place. And I was wondering now, how can they do that? Is that not age discrimination? But he was a police officer, and it was mandatory retirement at 63. And they have the same thing for airline pilots and for astronauts.
Okay, for airline pilots, I'm down with that. Okay. I think because there's something about reflexes and stuff like that. And although remember when that plane landed on the Hudson River?
Yes, he was an older man.
He was an older pilot. And sometimes, let me rethink that, because I was thinking maybe airline pilots and surgeons. All right, the airline pilots and surgeons. We I would thought that they would be older. I would want them to be younger for their reflexes, but maybe I would want them to be older for their wisdom.
Yeah, but if their reflexes aren't doing it, no matter how wise they are, it's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So Terry, how was your week? What happened?
It was
Interesting.
great.
How was homecoming?
Homecoming was wonderful. So Hampton's homecoming is nothing like an HBCU homecoming. It was wonderful. So I didn't graduate from Hampton, but I met my husband there, and he also pledged
oh,
there. So we
okay.
go back. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing just seeing people that I met when I was a freshman in college, and we're all, it's been 41 years later. So it's always a good time. I always need 3 days to recover when I get back from the homecoming. Three
Why?
days.
Why?
Oh yeah. We were a mess. We were dragging ourselves around the house like, ugh. So but it was a lot of fun. Always a great time.
So is that the difference between now and homecoming like 30 years ago or something?
It's totally different. They dress differently.
Really?
I'll say
What
that.
way? What way?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. So there was a dress code when I was at Hampton Institute. There's not a dress code
Oh
now. So,
no, no.
they dress anywhere, and major weed just about everywhere. So, right in my face, and if we got caught with weed or anything like that on campus, we would have been suspended immediately. So
Yeah.
just the whole atmosphere is different. It's a different generation, right?
Yeah.
So I enjoy going back. It's fun hanging out with some old friends. So always a good
Yeah,
time.
I haven't been back to my reunion in a while, not since before the pandemic, but I'm going to go next year because I think it will be, I don't know, 50, 51, something like that. I don't know. I've lost track. Maybe it's the 45th. It's one of those. But anyway, you're right. It is different. When I was there 5 years ago, it was different. But I was kind of prepared because I had gone to my daughter's other colleges, their other stuff. And, so I saw a little bit of that. But you're right. The things they're doing now, we would get definitely out in ski.
Oh yeah.
It's Spelman College. Are you kidding? Although you are talking to the very first college freshman in the class of 75 who got on social probation.
Wow.
Okay. I think we need a whole episode for that, Liz.
Yeah. What we did in college. We should do a whole show on what we did in college.
Okay. Well, I want to hear about that 3-day recovery. What did you do that it took 3 days to recover from? That sounds
no cooking. And we both work from home now, so it was pretty easy just to kind of chill. I mean, he still worked, but it was just you don't do much else, right?
Right.
You
right.
get up, go to have dinner at 4:30 and get in bed by 6:00. Just to get yourself together.
Okay.
So yeah, it's but it was all worth it. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. Loved it.
That's great. Now, did you by any chance happen to have an opportunity to watch The Golden Bachelor while you were there?
I catched on Hulu.
Oh,
yes. Okay. So I'm excited. We're down to 3 women. Watch the hometown shows. Some of this drama that was happening is gone. I think one of the ladies left and all the drama went with her. So I was happy about that. I don't think they needed to do that. I think that if anything, they should have shown that during this time of our lives, we are not jealous or envy, and how all that stuff affects you, and it also affects your relationships. And I don't think they needed that to be part of the show. So it's down to 3. It could be any one of them. Do you guys have an idea of who he might pick?
Yeah, I agree with you because you said last night we were texting, you thought it was going to be Leslie. And I was like, which one was Leslie? And I said, I think, is that the horse lady? And I went and I took a look at pictures. I was like, yeah, it's Leslie.
The dancer. Or the fitness instructor. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The last two, the last 3, 2 of them look very similar to me. And, but it just seemed like the one that he said he loved first. Because he said two of them. He told 2 of them he did. The other one, when she said "I love you," he was like, "Oh, okay, well, thank you."
Yeah,
she's gone. She's toast.
Yeah, but she got a rose. She got a rose.
The one with the black hair.
Yeah, she was the first one to get a rose.
Teresa,
she was.
Leslie and the other one. I can't think of her name right now.
Faith.
Who is it?
Faith.
That's right.
That's the
So
one who rode in on a motorcycle.
okay, so
Right.
that's the one who hasn't said "I love you" to Faith.
That's
No, he
Faith.
said I loved
Oh,
you to
okay.
her. No, he didn't say I
Yeah,
love
he
you
didn't
to
say
Teresa.
right. The one with the black hair, black hair.
Okay.
But the other two, he said that he did. So I'm thinking that it's definitely between those two. But wait a minute, I thought there were only two left. There's three left?
There's three.
Okay, so okay, bless her heart. Yeah, that's right. Because I thought to myself, okay, I'm glad she got a rose because I think she would just fall apart right there. Because she was just so because she knows.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
but
she
there's
knows she's
another
not.
one who almost fell apart. The blonde woman, was that Ellen? Was that Ellen?
Yeah. Oh, I felt so bad for
Yeah,
her.
she's a nice lady. The one that was
Yeah.
in her 70s, I think. Right?
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
70
I
or
felt really
71.
bad.
Yeah, she really wanted to. I mean, I felt like she was thinking, if this doesn't work out, then that's it for me. I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Now, what
yeah.
about Sandra missing her daughter's wedding to be on the show? What do you all think about that?
That's a non-starter for me. There's no way in the world.
No.
Okay.
I can't imagine.
There's just no way.
No.
So maybe there's a rest of the story there. Maybe she's hoping to, write a book as a result of it or something. I don't know. But there's no way in the world I would ever, ever, ever.
Absolutely not.
And we don't know what kind of wedding it was. If they just went to the justice of the peace, they
Maybe.
picked a day because they were both
Exactly.
Maybe this isn't her first one. It might not be her first rodeo. I don't
You're
know.
right. You're right.
But for for dramatic effect, they played it up like, oh, which I think actually made her look bad because we had these two other women. The one woman who left because her daughter had a baby and there were complications, and then there was another. I think Leslie, where they're having a conversation, and she said if her family comes first, and I think as we get older, for an interloper, and if there's somebody new that you're just dating, they're an interloper to a family because you've established this unit. Although, wait a second, let me rethink that. Was she doing it for him or was she doing it for herself?
I think she was doing it for herself. I really do. I think she seems to be pretty logical in terms of what her chances might have been, but I think it's something that she wanted to see through to the end. I never thought she was a contender. I never did. I don't. Maybe she thought she was, but I think she did it for herself. Yeah, a lot of fun being in that house and hanging out, and all that. I think they didn't show that many scenes with she and he. I don't think. Did they ever show them even kissing? I don't. Or he don't.
Yeah. No, they did. I saw kiss. I saw
you did?
kiss.
I did.
Yeah, I did. But I don't think it was in the show. I think it was in one of the promos. That they were it made the cutting room floor. But
interesting. They use that to pull folks in, like, oh, okay, you're gonna go with the black girl. Then they didn't show it.
Well, we'll see. Now tomorrow, is he going to be eliminating a lady, or is it? I think it's they have a show where all the bachelorettes come back and they reveal. They do this reveal. So I think that might be tomorrow, and so I don't know when he's giving these two roses.
Tomorrow's not the last show then.
No, it is November 9th. I think it might be from 7:00. It might be the 3-hour. It might be entire Bachelor. Where first of all, there's a cliffhanger because he only gave out one rose. There were two, so nobody got sent home. So
that's right. That's what I remember.
Right, he couldn't do it.
Right, and so somebody will go home, and then they'll go to. I think they're going to Costa Rica for their, their what do they call them? I call them the bedroom dates. When they suite, the suite. When they go to the suite and the overnight.
Is that what they do?
The overnight. They have an overnight date.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He will have
you can tell how much I know about the Bachelor.
So this might be when they do the mumble jumble.
They may or may not.
They may or may not. They could just stay up. You know how we do. Talk all night long, and although it's been a while since I've talked all night long with anyone. Because we were going to talk about this last week since we're talking about the Bachelor. And if they're going to pick a golden bachelorette,
I think they should.
I think they should too.
I think that they are planning on it. One of you guys sent an article about it, or I read it somewhere.
Yeah.
Reading all this stuff, and it looked like that's something that's on the agenda.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out who this individual is going to be. I've heard Susan. I've heard Sandra. Her name's come up a few times.
I heard Natasha.
Woo, really?
I haven't asked her directly because I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet, but that's what I heard. Yeah.
Well, and I sometimes they will pick the one that doesn't get picked out of the last two. That's the one who will end up being the golden bachelor.
Okay.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah,
okay.
That's how it is, kind of. But in the beginning, because I watched it when it first came out, and then I haven't watched it in like forever. But they used to just randomly pick somebody. Then when the show started getting popular, and the contestants, I guess, would you call them contestants, became popular, and they had their own fan base that the audience wanted to see. They would kind of pick like, this is the one we want to see. But do you think, because we as women, we tend to take good care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're going to be able to find 25?
Wait, what's the question?
I just had this visual just now of what the.
Wait! You got to run that back. What's the question?
Oh, okay, okay. We know what the Bachelor looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think they're gonna be able to find 25 men?
I would.
There's 70
Marianne,
like him.
I was thinking the same thing today. I was. And
because
they're going to find 25 men that are going to be able to perform. When it's time.
Ooh.
Come on.
Well, now how old do they have to be? They have to be at least 60?
Well, to make it fair, they should be just as old as these ladies are. So over 60, 65, 60 and up.
But you know what? Why should it be fair? This is what I think they should do. I think the age range for the men should be 45 to 70.
I'm with that. They probably won't. They probably won't do that. They won't do that.
But you know what? If they put it out there, I'm looking at somebody who's in the entertainment industry. If I'm a producer and I'm a casting director, I'm going to put out the call for men 45 to 75, and then see when I throw out that net what I'm going to catch. And then you start the interview process and the elimination process. And I bet you find some guys in there, maybe I would say 45, maybe 50, something like that, who are looking for, especially since they've had a chance to know that woman. If she's been one of the contestants before, they will get a chance to know that woman and think, "Ooh, I might want her. I'd like to have a shot at her." Because keep in mind, there's only one woman.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a possibility. That is definitely a possibility. I hadn't really thought about that. But when I think about the idea of an array of men 60 and over, it's real interesting. The first thing I thought about was just like, well, a lot of,
But I didn't think about that so much as I thought of, even when I watch The Bachelor with the Gary, is that his name? Gary? Because he spells it Gerry, which makes me want to say Jerry. But
Jerry, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
No, it's Gary.
It's Gary.
It's Gary, but it's pronounced, when I read it, I go like, what is it, Gary? He's from Indiana. That's all I'll say. So they do things different sometimes. I live in the Midwest. Nothing against Indiana. Please, people, don't write in and say, what have you got against Indiana? I live in Illinois. Okay?
Nothing. Okay.
But he does have some old-fashioned ways about him, and I think the women really seem to be of our time. The women seem to be a little bit more contemporary. Now, part of it might be because he was married to one woman for 43 years. Mm-hmm. So, but he's been a widower now for 7. So I would think during those 7 years, some women would have come along and said, dude, because there's a couple of times, I'm trying to think of what he said that sounded a little chauvinistic. No, in a way that
Oh.
uh, okay. Yeah, here I have to look. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I remember that, thinking that too. I don't know what it was, but I remember thinking that too. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see. It's getting
It,
interesting then.
yeah, I think so. I think
it's
so.
more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I still stick to my original premise in terms of just the whole concept. Just really makes my skin crawl sometimes, especially when I think about the idea of 25 men over 60, what that might look like. They, you know what? They'd have to work really hard to find this nice, not work really hard. They just have to ensure that it's a nice group of men, just like it was a nice group of women for him. They have to make sure it's a nice group of men. And so, that means they got to cheat a little bit and find some 40 somethings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they should. I think they should do that. They should do that because let me tell you, you are both married. I am single. It's it's
Is a desert out there?
it's not a desert, but I'm a little parched.
Okay.
A little, it's not
I
quite a
get
desert,
it.
but I am a little parched. And some of that may have to do with the pandemic because it
Yeah.
affected, the whole
Mhm.
social scene and everything like that.
Right.
And you know, back to that article that I was reading about women's relationships with other women and the sense of community. It's funny because I I'm not, and this is the thing about the Golden Bachelor too. So many of these women were, oh, they're looking for love or there's something that was missing. And I have a very full life. I
Mhm.
mean, it would be great. And I'm not looking for like a man to complete me. That's what something Gary said. I'm looking for someone to complete me. Really?
Right.
Dude, you should be complete.
Mhm.
What do you expect from her that she's going to complete you? I feel like I am complete, and maybe I'm having these thoughts now as I think about it. Maybe the fact that I do feel complete could be intimidating to men, to older men,
Mm.
if they are of a certain generation. But
Mm.
most of the women I know, like you, are really dynamic. Of my men friends and my women friends, I would say my women friends are far more dynamic than my male friends. And I have a lot of male friends that I'm not romantically involved with,
Right,
but I have a
right.
lot of male friends. And I just think my women friends are much more interesting. The only thing that does concern me, though, is, well, my sister has been divorced. I've been divorced, and we lived together. We I actually moved back to Chicago from New York when she was going through her divorce, and I said I can give you 2 years, and I'm out of here because I lived in New York for 15 years when I was young and coming up as an actor in New York. I lived in LA for 20 years when I was more did during the most of my acting career, and I really love LA. I'm thinking I'm going to work my way back to LA. Well, after 2 years, we were both diagnosed with cancer, so we ended up here and we just continued to live together because by the time we had gone through that, I was pretty much priced out of LA. It's like, well, I
Yeah,
can't go back. Everything that I had was twice as much now. So I
right,
thought,
right.
yeah, I got to get a really good uh, show or something going on to be able to live back in LA the way I want to live in LA. But I also thought, I'm 75, my sister's 71. I'm glad we have each other because
Yes.
we both were diagnosed with cancer within 2 weeks of one another. We went through
Wow.
radiation with one another.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that is really important. And I don't know quite what the statistic is, but it's something like in the 30 or 40% of those over the age of 60 are living alone.
Mm.
Wow.
Now, how
Wow.
would you feel about that? If you were suddenly single, would you, like Terry, I know you have a daughter, and Linus, you have four. Do you think they would say, okay, which one of us gets
It's
mom?
so it's so funny. That's funny that you mentioned that because they're always talking about me coming to live with them, and I'm like, hello, I still have a husband, but they're if I were to call them today, they'd be like, there'd be a moving truck right out my door the next day. I mean, let's go. But I have thought about that though. If he were to go before me, would I just stay here by myself? And hell yeah, I would. It's interesting because most women in our generation, hopefully, lived by themselves before they got married, whereas in my mother's generation, she went to college, and then after she went to college, she went right back home to stay with her mom. And my dad came back from cadet school after he graduated from college, went to officer school, came back and married her, and then she moved in with my dad. So she never had her own place. So the things that I went through as a single, young girl in the city and stuff, she had no experience with or couldn't relate to. It's so funny because I can remember her talking about when she was in her early 50s wanting to get her own place just for the experience and what it was like. So since
Wow.
I've had that experience, I'm not afraid to live by myself. I love being by myself, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But it's funny how my kids think that at some point, because I'm 66 and you never know, that if I fall or something, that they'll have to get a truck and come and get me, and that's that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but I do still have a husband. So, but that
Would you get one of those things that help? I
he
can't get up.
probably said, okay, see ya. But yeah, I would want to stay home. I would want to stay in my own place for as long as I could. Yeah.
What about you, Terry?
Yeah, I haven't thought much about it. I only have one. So if there is the need or the desire, I only have one option, right? Whereas you got four different options. I have one. We
Yeah.
have a very good we got a good relationship, which is great. But I have a lot of friends that have their elderly parents living with them because of necessity and desire. And
Mhm.
I have found that the friends that have their parents living with them because they desire that, or it's part of the culture. Like I have a very good friend, it's part of the culture to keep the elderly members of the family intact with the family unit as they age. So
Yes.
it's just something that's expected, and they do. And actually, it's really nice because, as we get older, we face things like isolation and loneliness. And when you stay connected to that family unit, there's less of that. So it's been actually very good mentally and emotionally for these elderly parents. But for me, I'm very independent. I could live by myself for the rest of my life. I would be fine. Um, Always been that way. So it just depends. If there's not a need, a financial need, or any kind of other need, I probably would stay on my own. And my mother always used to say, I don't, and I know you feel like this about your kids. You never want to inconvenience them. Like I never want to feel like I'm going to be an inconvenience, you know?
Mhm.
So I want to live as long as I can and live independently as long as I can so I don't become that inconvenience. And you know, I don't know if I'm going to have it that way, but that's the goal. But the other thing that I always tell my friends, if there's something going on with your kids, fix it. Fix it now. You're never going to know when they're going to need you or you're going to need them later on in life. Fix the relationship now. And that's sort of what I did with my mom as she got older. Our
Mhm.
relationship was sort of weird. But then when she entered into her late 80s, we were just like, we're just going to squash this. And I remember her saying, I'm just free to love you now.
Mhm.
So
Aw.
we did that. Yeah, we did that later in life. And I was there for her at the end of her life, which is wonderful. And she was there for me also emotionally, as I was going through some things. So yeah,
Mhm.
take care of whatever you need to take care of
That's so interesting
with
because
your
I think
kids.
you're so right. I think that was one of my motivations subconsciously. Although there's nothing wrong with any of my relationships with my kids, but I wanted to make sure that I spent some time with my children who live out of state. and seize the opportunity. And I did that, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did, because we have this understanding now that we probably would not have established had I not gone and done that. Because my other two, they're here and I see them all the time, so it's not the same sense of urgency that I had to do these with these other two. And it's so funny because actually we were talking just the other day, because I talk to my kids every single day. We were all on the phone the other day, and we figured out that this last couple of years, the ones that live out of state, if I'm not there, they've been here. It's been a lot. And so my one of my daughters, who I call her Sister Soldier, because she's so straightforward and tells her truth, and she says, well, maybe something's getting ready to happen to Mom, and that's why we're doing it that way. I was like, okay, well, thanks a lot for that. But I understand what she's saying. There's no such thing as coincidence. But after spending that time with them, I've felt really comfortable with the idea of making my other plans, because I hadn't done that yet. So I went ahead and made I'm still doing them, but they're about like 80% done. Whereas before I wasn't afraid to do it. I just didn't want to do it. But now I feel like, okay, I know what I want to do and what I want to say. So,
nice.
You're right. It makes
it beautiful.
Well, it's interesting because you all have daughters. I have a son.
Yeah.
And they say a daughter is your daughter for all of your life, but your son is your son until he takes a wife.
So is that true?
Have you heard that before? No, it isn't. My son is my no. My son is my son, absolutely. And my daughter-in-law has become my daughter. I mean, her mother's still alive, but over it's like my daughter-in-law is just the greatest. I mean, during the pandemic, we started this thing of having a weekly Zoom family trivia. It's been going on now after the pandemic for, was it 2.5 years?
Wow,
I remember you were doing that.
Yeah, and so except now we don't do it once a week; we do it once a month, because everybody's got their lives.
Everybody's busy now,
right? But everybody kept up the tradition, and most of the people, my sister and I, are the only ones from my son's side of the family. The rest are all my daughter-in-laws. Like, she has two sisters, and then her. So what's happened is that we are now, it's all one big family, because we live all over the country. And so it has really brought us together. And every Christmas, my daughter-in-law sends out a little package, a little goodie box. So we have activities. She gives out prizes.
Oh my goodness.
Like the best gingerbread house, and she'll send all the things to make the gingerbread house, and she sends out like stuff to make homemade Christmas cards, and with the addresses of everybody gets a homemade Christmas cards, and we vote. I mean, she loves stuff like that, and it's really, really great. So during the month of December, we meet every week, and we have a contest every week.
Oh, that's fantastic, Mary. I love that idea.
That is a great idea.
That's a great idea. Let's give me some ideas, because I'm pretty sure one of my daughters is going to be living. Well, I know one of my daughters is going to be living abroad for at least a year or two. Imani's moving to Italy, so yeah, that's and I know she won't be coming back every time for every holiday like she does living in Miami. So that's a great idea.
It's about time for us to wrap this up, ladies. It's getting to I know time has flown by, but I just want to say this one thing, Linus. If you're going to be, I've seen your house on Zoom. So you are not going to be living alone, because I am moving in. Okay? we will be the golden women.
The golden women by the pool, by the golden pond.
The golden women by the pool. I'm a really good cook.
Yes.
So we can.
Your sister can come on by.
Yeah, because again, in this whole dating scene, because I have a lot of male friends, I don't feel like I'm missing any male energy. But it would be, and I have appliances. So there's, but, and I do
married.
I do feel that if I'm going to be in a relationship again, like the whatever, I'm leaving it up to God. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
do believe that there's a partner that, so I'm not in search of. I don't feel the need to go on a dating site. I just don't, because I have a very full life. I have
Mhm.
a lot of friends. Um, I have my career. It looks
Mhm.
like older women are becoming on trend. So
Yeah,
I am,
they are.
I am
Big
We're
time.
anticipating.
on
I've been meaning to
trend.
talk to you about that. That's something we should talk about. What's going on?
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to talk about that next week, but we got to get off strike first, okay? Because we're still on strike, and
Oh,
that's for a very, very good reason. A lot of it has to do. I think the last sticking point is AI, because right now the studios say they want to pay one fee and scan your image, and then have the right to use it in perpetuity with no additional residuals.
oh
Oh no.
no.
And they continue it even after you die. They don't have to pay into the estate. That's
No, no,
wrong.
no,
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 that's not right.
No. No.
that's not gonna work. You know what? I did not realize that they were still on strike. But
Oh
now that
yeah.
I think about it, there's several shows that there's one or two that I watched that I know are still on the air and they're not back on yet. So that's probably
No.
why.
I'm waiting for the good doctor to come back and Grey's Anatomy. And
Oh,
it's
the
like,
good doctor.
what?
Oh, Grey's Anatomy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that explains that. Okay, that's terrible. I don't see how that can possibly fly. But
Yeah.
AI, there's so much stuff that's coming up with AI. We should talk about it. There's a lot of
Mm,
stuff. I'm sure, Terry, you've run across some things, read some articles
Oh
about some
man.
stuff.
It's
It's getting
amazing.
real. Now, Facebook is saying that if you want to run a political advertisement and AI is in there, you have to share that. You have to say this was, how this advertisement was paid by so and so. Now it's gonna be this advertisement has two AI. You have to disclose it. We'll see what happens with that because they're planning on putting heads on bodies and having them say stuff and all kind.
yeah. Do
It's
they have to say this political ad was generated by a bot? This
right,
person doesn't really
exactly.
exist. That's what I find really scary.
Oh,
Okay,
the
well,
times we live in.
we've covered a lot of topics, and it seems like we have a lot more to cover next week. So, Terry, did you have an announcement to make about? Are we going to have a special guest next week?
We are going to have a special guest. So excited. So next week, our last show before Thanksgiving, we are going to have Natasha Hardy
Because
on
you
the
have a heart
show. She was
For
one
those
of
of
the
you,
bachelorettes on the Golden Bachelor. And I think she left the show week 2. Was it
I
week
think it
2?
was
no,
week
no,
2.
she was in a couple. I think
Is it
3.
3?
Yeah,
Week 3.
Okay.
yeah.
She's coming on the show. We are so excited. And I don't know when the show ends, but it will be the night before the show. And if it's the last show, it'll be kind of exciting just to have a conversation with her. So we're really excited about having
Oh, that's
Natasha on.
fantastic. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can
So
get the
please
backstage
share.
dirt.
Yes. So please share the show. Come back and join us. Share the show. We're here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What is it now? Gosh, now with with Standard Time, it's
It,
6 Central and then still 4
yeah,
Pacific. Okay, I got it right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Well,
we're
it's exciting.
excited. Yay,
yeah. We're
Natasha!
excited. Well,
Let it get, let it get.
well, this is
Fantastic,
okay.
everybody.
Okay, play that funky music, Terry.
Plays
All
that
right. So
funky
see you guys
music,
next week. This
Terry.
was
Okay,
fun.
bye.
Bye,
Everybody.
everybody.